I am Ellie Norman.
I am Ava Mensah.
I am Laura Norman.
I am Olivia Mensah.
We are the granddaughters of George Arthur Padmore Jr.
and are the great-granddaughters of George Arthur Padmore Sr. George Arthur Padmore Sr. was the grandson of General George Stanley Padmore,
who was 14 years old when he immigrated from Barbados to Liberia on board the Cora.
Here's a list of some of the people on the Cora. Samuel Primus Skeet, Sarah Jane Skeet, Catherine Thomas Skeet, Sarah Francis Skeet, Joseph Evans Skeet, John Bishop Skeet, Jane Judith Skeet, Samuel Skeet, Letitia Evans Skeet, Edward Wordworth Skeet, Charles Stewart Skeet, Primus Samuel Skeet, James William Austin, Francis Maria Austin, James Jeremiah Austin, Francis Austin, Ernest Adolphus Austin, Philip Devanesh, Dorothy Devanesh, Joseph Clark Devanesh, Frederick A.W.R. Devanesh, James Thomas Wiles, Mary E. Wiles, and Laura Edith Wiles.
Florence Irene Wiles, William Stanley Wiles, Richard Jones Wiles. Bianca Henrietta E. Wiles, Ellen Alberto Wiles, Helen Beatrice Wiles. Henry Thornbill Cadigan, Sarah Kristen Cadigan, Jerome Ducelin Cadigan. Cordeline Cleopatra C. Cadigan, Robert Valerie Cadigan, Arviza Eloise Cadigan. John Robert Padmore, Mary Susan Padmore, Christiana Hines Padmore. Mrs. Elizabeth Ann Worrell, Mrs. Edward Nelson, John Francis Marshall. John Weeks Padmore, Elizabeth Francis Padmore, Peter Stapleton Padmore. Jacob Padmore, Lucreta Padmore, Caroline Padmore.
Nathaniel Theophilus A. Thorpe, Thurza Ezeline Durindo Thorpe, Laura Hannah A. Thorpe, Charlotte Evangelina F. Thorpe, John Isaac A.F.G. Thorpe, Edward Hunt, James Alexander Dayrell, Margaret Ann Dayrell, Teresa Dayrell, Matilda Fitzgerald Dayrell, Nathaniel Evans Dayrell, Julia Lee Dayrell, James Alexander Dayrell, Jane Benton Dayrell, Thomas Henry Eastmond, Rebecca Ann Eastmond, Laura Matilda Eastmond, Edward Thomas Holder, Ellen Holder, Samuel Hall Holder, James Daniel Holder, Thomas Albert Holder, Robert Jackman, Eleanor Jackman, Margaret Jane Jackman.
James Padmore, Mary Evans Padmore, George Stanley Padmore, Francis Augustus Padmore, Ruth Padmore, Joseph Alonzo Padmore, Alfred Ernest Padmore, William Earl, Sarah Elizabeth Earl, Letitia Earl, Joseph Thomas Gibeon, Isaac William Denny, John Richard Pollard, James Bignell, Mary Jane Scott Bignell, Joseph Abraham Douglas, Caroline Douglas, John Frederick A. Douglas, Angelina Teresa Douglas, Irene Josephine Douglas, Elvira Jane Douglas, Holborn Josemi, Frances Rebecca King, John Isaac Thorpe, Elizabeth Maria Thorpe, Elizabeth Rachel Ann Thorpe, Adriana Alberta Louisa Thorpe,